The meadow sprawled like a glossy silver sea under the full moon. The grass swayed in the light breeze, making a noise that sounded like a faint whisper. The pounding of my heart matched their eerie cadence, my sneakers rooted to the dirt path. I yanked my backpack and hoodie tighter against the night's chill, fingers twisting my hoodie strings as I squinted, desperate to see what Kai had spotted. At the end of the sloping path, the camp's fire pits flickered innocently, tiny bright specks that had, until a second ago, felt like a safe promise. But Kai's massive frame had gone rigid, his large, scaly tail stiff and claws curling into fists. Beside him, Flurry's small, round ears perked, her white fur glowing softly in the moonlight as she clutched her bulging backpack, her eyes also scanning the dark. With Kai's torch out, it left us hidden, but blind. My stomach lurched. "What's wrong?" I blurted, louder than I meant to, my voice breaking the meadow's silence. Kai's snout twitched, his gaze locked on the ground. He knelt, and his green and pink tropical shirt rustled as he slowly and carefully lowered his claw about a foot above the dirt. Just then, I saw it too, a thin wire, stretched across the path so tight it gleamed like a spider's thread. "Tripwire," he growled, voice rough as gravel. "This ain't no friendly camp." He slung off his backpack, its contents clinking as he dug inside until he pulled out a pair of massive, battered binoculars. The lenses looked scratched but still caught the moonlight. My breath stuttered. "Well, what? Why wouldn't it be I started. "Shh! Nocturnes," he cut in, the word dropping heavy. "Looks like it could be at least a couple dozen of them." He pressed the binoculars to his eyes. His snout scrunched and twitched as he scanned the valley, his tail swayed slow and tense. I blinked, my stomach tripping over itself. Nocturnes? The word felt clumsy in my mouth. What are nocturnes? My voice cracked, my confusion instantly knotting with worry. I glanced at Flurry. Her paws had tightened on her scarf, her squeaky voice trembling. "They're bad news," she said, her green eyes darting to the campfires. "Mostly Arovians, crows, owls, hawks, who went rogue. They left their city, started raiding travelers at night, stealing supplies. Like bandits, I guess." She frowned, ears drooping. "But why here? I didn't think they would attack a big group like this." Kai hummed at Flurry's words. He lowered the binoculars, his yellow eyes dark and intense. "They set traps like these to catch folks off guard," he rumbled, nodding at the tripwire below. "Something's up. They don't usually travel in large crews like this either." His voice stayed steady, but there was a grim edge to it. "This ain't normal." He crouched again to study the tripwire before handing me the binoculars, his rough claw brushing my hand. My chest tightened, my fingers trembled as I raised them to my eyes. The camp snapped into focus. Fire pits cast jagged and restless shadows across tents and grass. Shapes slumped around each glowing orange fire pit, dozens of them, unmoving in a way that felt wrong. Ropes glinted in the firelight, binding paws, tails, even snouts. Rabbits, badgers, squirrels, a few crocodiles, all tied, heads bowed, their silhouettes blurred a bit by the fire heat and smoke. My breath hitched, a cold knot forming in my gut. "They're prisoners," I whispered. Flurry grabbed the binoculars from me, her tiny frame quivering. "That's old Mr. Pawson," she squeaked, voice cracking. "And Miss Hazel, my next-door neighbor. Oh, acorns! It's the Florians that evacuated." Her ears drooped as she scanned further. "The Marshings, too. Look, there's a whole group of them tied up around the fires." She shoved the binoculars back at Kai, her paws trembling, her stubby tail limp. My heart pounded. One name screamed through my mind: Louisa. She had to be there. Her baggy gray hoodie, her curls, her goofy laugh. I snatched the binoculars again, my hands slick with sweat, and scanned every captive, desperate for a human shape, the tiniest glint of blonde hair, but the firelight warped everything. Everyone blended into shadow. No girl my size, no human at all. My throat closed, fear clawing its way up. What if she was hurt? What if they'd killed her? Everything around me went dark, the hum of the void ringing in my mind. I'd been so focused on that stupid purple-black wall and those scribbled glue-mine faces that I hadn't even considered other dangers, ones with fur, feathers, teeth, claws, and plans of their own. I lowered the binoculars, my eyes blurred with tears. Louisa could be there, I blurted. My voice shook, and I was louder than I meant to be. We have to check. What if she's tied up, or worse? My hands balled into fists as I leaned forward, sneakers digging into the dirt. Kai's claw landed on my shoulder, heavy but gentle. "Hold on, Ivory," he rumbled, soft but firm. "We don't know she's there. Rushin' in blind won't save her." He looked beyond the camp into the dark toward the north, where the meadows seemed to swallow another trail. If this is part of the group that evacuated, then they must have been ambushed and cut off from the rest of them, and Louisa might be further out. We gotta get to Arovia, warn the council. They can help. He pointed toward the thickening grass at the meadow's edge. We skirt around this mess, a mile, maybe 2. Stay clear of the trap. I shook my head hard, chest tightening. No way. My voice cracked. What if she's right there, Kai? I can't just leave her. The fear and frustration swirled like shadows at the edge of our path, thick and cold. I couldn't lose her, not after everything. My hands clutched the binoculars like they were the only thing holding me together. Flurry's tiny paw touched my arm. Her squeak wavered, but she forced herself to meet my eyes. Ivory. Kai's right, she said softly, green eyes glistening. Something isn't right here. There are too many nocturnes. We're no match for them. She swallowed, staring down at the campsite again, her imprisoned neighbors, her friends, then back to me, her brow creased. Arovia is safer. If we hurry and travel through the night, we'll... Her voice broke, but she steadied herself, taking a small breath. We need to get help, she said, calm but firm. A tone I'd never heard from her before. I swallowed hard, my jaw tight, eyes locked on the camp's fires. I need to be sure, I muttered, my voice low, almost a growl. I stepped forward, following the tripwire's path. My sneakers made no sound on the dirt. Kai hissed something behind me, but my own focused thoughts and heartbeat drowned it out. Flurry scurried after me, holding her backpack to soften its thumps. Kai's careful steps followed, his tail brushing through the grass. The wire led to a jagged rock only a few 100 feet from the camp, close enough to hear sharp, cruel laughter drifting up the slope. Behind the rock hung a cluster of bells, tied to the wire and ready to scream at the slightest touch. I crouched down, my pulse racing, and I raised the binoculars again, desperate for a clearer look. Still no Louisa, no human shape at all. My breath came fast and shallow. Just a little closer, I whispered, inching forward. Flurry grabbed my sleeve, her squeak sharp. Ivory, we can't... My sneaker caught on something. A second wire. Thinner. Invisible in the grass. It snapped with a violent twang, whipping toward another rock. An even bigger bunch of bells exploded into sound, shrill, clanging, shattering the night. My heart stopped. The binoculars slipped from my hands, thudding into the dirt. Kai's claws shot out, his snout curling into a cringing snarl. Flurry slapped her paws over her mouth, her round ears flattened tight against her head. The camp erupted. Silhouettes around the fires, tall, feathered shapes with hooked beaks and glinting claws, whipped toward the noise. Cackles died mid-laugh, replaced by guttural shouts. Torches flared. Wings rustled like dead leaves as dozens of bandits either sprinted or soared toward us, eyes glowing in the firelight, shadows stretching long and monstrous across the meadow. "Run!" Kai hissed, his whisper raw. We turned to bolt, but a flurry of wings crashed down in front of us. 3 birds dropped from the sky, 2 crows and a hawk, their beaks gleaming. "Going somewhere, friends?" One crow cackled, talons scraping the dirt. The other crow, with a scar cutting across his beak like a crack, leered at me. His eyes narrowed with greedy delight. "A human?" he crooned. "Oh, the boss is gonna love this." Kai stepped in front of Flurry and me, his massive frame a shield, claws bared. "Back off!" he growled, his tail lashing. A crow lunged at Kai, taunting him, its beak snapping inches from Kai's face. Kai swiped, claws slicing the air. But just then, a massive bear nocturne barreled in from the side. Its dark matted fur shook as its fist crashed into Kai's jaw. Kai went down instantly, crumpling like a dropped ragdoll. His glasses skidded across the dirt, his backpack crunching loudly in the grass. "Kai!" I screamed, my voice ripping through the night. Flurry's squeak echoed mine as she clutched my leg. The bandits only laughed, their cackles sharp as knives. Rough claws then seized us, forcing our arms behind us and together, ropes cut into our wrists, thick rags yanked tightly over our mouths, the coarse fibers scraping my skin. The bear slung Kai's limp body over its shoulder, his tail hanging lifeless. A hawk and an owl grabbed Flurry and me, their talons digging into our arms, dragging us toward the blazing orange camp. They threw us down beside a fire pit, the heat blasting my face just a few feet away. The ropes bit deep into my wrists and forearms, the cloth gag choked my every breath. Around us, Florians and Marshings all huddled, rabbits trembling, badgers glaring, other crocodiles and large lizards slumped over or were unconscious, but everyone bound, dirty, and defeated. The nocturnes strutted past, mocking them all, proud of their newly captured prisoners. "Look at the little human," a crow squawked, claws glinting. "Not so tough now, eh?" My eyes darted frantically across the captives around our fire, searching for Luisa's face, but she wasn't in this group. Some bird nocturnes circled me, larger, heavier, more brutal than any bird I'd seen back home. The crows were my height, their oily black feathers gleaming darkly in the firelight. The hawks were tallest. Their chests seemed thick with muscle beneath their speckled feathers. A raccoon bandit swaggered up, sneering at me, and with one sharp claw he slashed through the strap of my backpack, ripping it from my shoulder like it weighed nothing. I fell back down, hitting my chin on the hard ground. Ignoring the pain, I quickly got back up and on my knees, the gag muffling my scream, "Stop!" Panic burning in my chest. Losing that bag again felt like losing Luisa and Mom all over again. The raccoon laughed, a grating, nasal cackle, and dumped the contents onto the dirt. My spare clothes, granola wrappers, Luisa's shoe, the tin box. He sniffed the shoe, Luisa's worn, scuffed sneaker, then tossed it casually into the dark. Tears blurred my vision. I choked on a sob behind the gag, my wrists straining helplessly. The raccoon clawed at the tin box next, scratching and prying but unable to force it open. I glared, forcing garbled, desperate noises out. "Put it down!" But he only smirked, shoved it and the other items back into the torn pack, and tied the ripped straps around his waist like a lopsided fanny pack. He looked down at me with a smirk. The bag sagged awkwardly against his fur, my things, my memories, dangling from a thief's hip. More bandits crowded around our fire, chatter rising and beaks snapping. "Is that the one the boss wants?" a crow muttered, eyes glinting with greed. My stomach twisted. Were they after me? Did they attack this group because of me? Flurry whimpered beside me, her white fur now matted, her scarf tangled in the ropes binding her paws. Her green eyes were huge with fear. Kai lay slumped nearby, still unconscious, his glasses missing again. The giant bear bandit's shadow loomed over his limp form. Kai's tail lay lifeless in the dirt. A large, dark gray rabbit emerged from the shadows, so silent he seemed to suddenly appear beside the fire. A nocturne, clearly higher ranked. The boss? One ear was notched, as if something had bit through it. He had 3 gold earrings dangling from the other, catching the firelight in sharp, glinting flashes. He turned fully toward me, and I froze. His cold black eyes narrowed as he studied me. Then he laughed, a low, menacing chuckle. "The boss'll be pleased with what my crew found," he said. "Oh, human, you've no idea how happy we are to see you." His voice curdled my stomach. He barked to the others, "To the captain's tent!" 2 hawks swooped in and hoisted me up, talons digging into my upper arms. I kicked and twisted, the gag choking my protests. As they dragged me past fire pits, I scanned them desperately. No Louisa. No sign of her anywhere. They dropped me roughly onto a patch of matted grass near a large closed tent, several feet away from a fire pit near the edge of camp. The gray rabbit slipped inside. "Captain Drock," he called into the tent, his voice low but eager. "We found the human." The rabbit emerged seconds later, wearing a chipped bucktooth grin. He turned back toward the tent. I just now notice his dark matted fur has chunks taken out of it, revealing several pink spots along his back, as if the fur had been ripped out in patches. The tent's curtain snapped open, and a massive dark creature stepped out, a broad-shouldered, thick-feathered, and towering bald eagle, larger than every nocturne in sight. His talons clicked against the packed earth, each step deliberate, claiming the space around him like a king surveying his peasants. Or prey. His sharp eyes mercilessly locked onto me. I struggle to my knees and shift back an inch or two before a large nocturne grabs my shoulders to hold me still. "Human," he murmured, tasting the word like it was something rotten, then the sides of his beak curve as he grins. "So, the rumor was true." He stopped just a few feet away, head tilting with slow, eerie precision. His beak hovered over my face, close enough I could feel the warmth of his breath. A cruel laugh scraped out of him, dry, humorless, scornful. "Look at you," he said softly. "Small, fragile, already shaking." He chuckled. "And yet somehow your kind brings death wherever you wander. Pathetic, isn't it?" He laughs, and his crew joins in with boisterous laughter. Then he stops, and his face suddenly turns serious. In one quick and almost invisible movement, he lunges a talon at me and grabs my neck. I let out a gasp through the gag cloth as it knocks the wind out of me. I struggle to breathe as he lifts me up just enough to still feel the ground with the tips of my toes. His grip is partly enclosed around my shoulders, and I can feel some of his talons digging into my back. He studies my fear-stricken face. My heart pounds so fast I'm convinced he can feel it. The worst possible outcomes all fight their way to the forefront of my mind. The eagle's beady black eyes suddenly go from wide and delighted to narrow. "You don't even know what you've done, do you, child?" He sighed in frustration, then dropped me. I fell right to my knees, my head low to the ground, gasping for more air the best I could despite my lungs still being restricted. He began pacing around me like a circling shark. "Humans never do. Careless. You appear, and this land, it bleeds." He leaned close, sneering. "Tell me, little one, do you have any idea what follows in your wake?" My pulse hammered. The gag dug into my cheeks. He watched my fear with open satisfaction. His voice snapped, sudden and explosive. "Do you?" The shout hit like a physical blow. Even some nocturnes flinched. The firelight seemed to shudder with the vibration of his roar. His feathers puffed violently, rage crackling through every plume. He stabbed a talon into the dirt beside me, just inches away, gouging a deep groove in the earth. "Death!" he snarled. I continue staring at the ground, afraid to look up at the monstrous bird hanging right above me. As if reading my mind, I feel his cold, sharp talon yank my chin upward and force my gaze in his direction. He's crouched a bit, almost to my level, his eyes peering into my soul. I close my eyes, wishing this terror would go away. Unfortunately, the relentless Nocturne boss continues. "All this ruin, villages swallowed whole, families torn apart." Spit hits my face. Then he flicks his claw to the side, tossing me to the ground. I can't keep my balance with my knees and fall down to my side, hard. He looms over me, wings half spread, his shadow engulfing my entire body. "You walk into our world," he hissed, his voice actually trembling now, not with fear, but with a sharpened hatred and anger. "And the void follows like a loyal dog. It feasts when you arrive. It hungers when you breathe. It takes and takes and takes." His talons clench, the dirt and grass cracking beneath them. "And we're the ones left mourning." He exhaled sharply, forcing his feathers to smooth, even as his voice lowered back into a chilling growl. "You want to know why you're here, human?" A pause. A cruel, shaking breath. "Let's just call it destiny." He turned toward the fire pits, as if addressing the entire camp now, but his voice only carried across our circle. "When I was a fledgling, my parents and I lived in Erovia," he began. "We soared across the land delivering mail, trade goods, medicines. Erovian wings held this world together. Villages like Floria and Marshing depended on us. We were trusted, respected." He glared at the tied-up Florian and Marshing animals, his eyes hardening. "Then came a day we were delivering healing salves to Viridal, a thriving town south of the Great Forest." His beak tightened. The soil there was so rich it fed half of Noctavir. No one went hungry. But that day, the ground shook. His pacing quickened. A terrible dark wall rose from the town's center, alive, writhing, dividing, and stretching high into the sky. It swallowed people whole. Screams vanished like extinguished flames. My parents and I hovered above, horrified at the sight. And then the glue mines came. Hundreds. Thousands. Their faces scribbled in their shadowed bodies like dying stars. They dragged survivors screaming into the wall. My breath hitched. The gag tasted bitter. My wrists burned against the ropes. He stopped pacing and flexed his talons, his gaze falling to the ground in front of him. "I saw a badger cub cornered by those cretinous beings," he growled. "My remarkable mother swooped down and tore through them, saved the cub, but a glue mine had grabbed hold of her satchel, ensnaring her. We tried to fight it off. My father and I clawed and beat at them, but more had quickly swarmed, taking hold of me. She grabbed me and tried to ascend, but they pulled her down." His voice cracked, but only for a moment. "With her last ounce of strength," he heavily whispered, "she hurled me skyward." His eyes darkened and he turned, his back now facing me. "But they took her, screaming, fighting, into the void wall, gone." He swallowed hard. The feathers around his neck bristled. "The void has claimed my father, too. Just 2 days ago, outside Oron village." His gaze snapped to mine, his terrifying eyes now glossy with unshed tears. For years, that wall crept and crawled across our land. Slow, patient. We learned its patterns. We endured it. His talons flexed. "But now?" His voice sharpened. "Now it surges. It spreads faster, hungrier, whole stretches of land gone in days." He stepped closer, his shadow swallowing me whole. "And just like before," he said quietly, dangerously, "there are whispers." A beat, Nearly a decade ago, the day Viridal fell. There were rumors, too. His beak tightened. A human. Something out of place. The council dismissed it, called it panic. His eyes burned into mine. I waited. We all did. For answers. For action. His voice trembled with restrained fury. But they did nothing while the void took more from us. Piece by piece. He leaned closer. And now, his voice dropped to a low, venomous growl. It wakes again, stronger than it has in years. His talons clenched. My father is dead. Silence fell heavy between us. And again, he whispered, a human walks our world. His head tilted, studying me like something already condemned. You think that is coincidence? A sharp, humorless laugh escaped him. No, I've seen enough. He straightened, voice rising, not wild, but certain. The void may linger on its own, but your kind, he jabbed a talon toward me. You stir it, feed it, make it remember. His eyes narrowed. So, when we heard a human had returned, he paused. I stopped waiting. His voice hardened into something that felt final. It became my duty to find you. He took a breath. And end it. He swiftly raised a massive talon and pressed it under my neck, holding my head up. Pain flared white hot. A trickle of blood rolled down my throat. I screamed behind the cloth. My tears spilled freely. Drak laughed, a deep, cruel roar. Not yet, human. I won't kill you now. His voice boomed with dark satisfaction. He spoke loud enough now for the whole camp to hear. The Nocturnes may be called criminals, but we're this land's backbone, the true saviors of Noctavir. He lifted his wings, spreading them wide in a proud, sweeping display. His shadow stretched across the camp as he glared into the dark. Dozens of bandit cheers joined him. The Council of Noctavir, and their so-called elder, he spat the words. They're the real criminals. They play scholar with their imaginary leader while the void devours our home. They study and theorize and ignore the truth staring them in the face. He turned back to me, eyes burning. The void has a connection. A human connection. A cruel smile crept along his beak. Well, everyone will see the truth soon enough, when we bring you and these citizens of Noctavir to the Nocturnes' keep. His wings rustled, the movement sharp as a blade. There, they'll witness your death, a sacrifice to the void, and the end of the wall, and our suffering, finally over. He leaned in until I could feel his breath. All thanks to me, he coarsely whispered. He turned toward the camp. We leave at dawn for the keep, he shouted, and swiftly returned inside his tent. Cheers erupted again across the camp, mocking, hungry. A crow jeered, "The keep'll love this show!" A large brown owl picked me up with ease and walked me through the camp toward its opposite edge. At the last fire pit, the owl threw me onto the dirt beside other prisoners. The ropes cut deeper. The ground was unforgiving. I lay on my side, writhing in pain. I fought through throbbing aches to find my way to my knees again, when something pressed up against my side. I flinched, but felt immediate relief to see a white ball of fur below. Flurry. Her body was trembling. Her fur was matted and dirt covered her in spots. Her confident green eyes had been softened and worried as she looked into mine. Her tiny paws were tied tightly in a large bundle of rope, and a similar gag was found restricting her squeaky voice. Flurry nuzzled up against me and had pressed her forehead softly against my left cheek, then wiggled around to the right, attempting to wipe my large tears away. I smiled through the gag and choked out a sob. She leaned against me and exhaled a deep breath, then turned to stare at the fire. Her fur was a warm and welcome support. I looked around, and guilt immediately crushed my chest. These animals, Florians, Marshings, all captured because the Nocturnes were hunting me. Only a tied-up badger glared, its eyes sharp with what felt like blame. Others only looked tired, some already asleep. Kai lay unconscious to my right, closer the fire. His massive, scaly body remained still. My heart ached. It's all my fault.